Welcome back to Pop Culture Decoded, and we have a lot to unload today. Yesterday, Drink Champs released an episode where Kanye was their special guest, and Kanye had a lot to say. He unleashed 3.5 hours of hostile comments towards P. Diddy, Meek Mill, his ex-wife, Kris Jenner, the Jewish community, Pete Davidson, Adidas, Gap, the Jewish community, even George Floyd. N.O.R.E. gave him the opportunity and wanted people to hear Kanye out. Well, that backfired very badly because he received a lot of backlash. Number one, for giving Kanye the platform to speak, and number two, for not pushing back on some of the hurtful comments. Well, this morning, N.O.R.E. apologized and addressed Kanye's comments from last night. He starts off by apologizing to the family of George Floyd, Stephen Jackson, the Black community, to anyone who was hurt by Kanye's words.
I felt that I could control the interview, and I've learned early on that I didn't. As a Black man, I feel like I failed. As a human, I feel like I failed. But as a journalist, I succeeded because as a journalist, you're not really supposed to have an opinion. You're supposed to let people talk. But I sincerely apologize to anybody that was hurt by Kanye's words, by Kanye's actions. And he told to my producer, he said, if you tell my people to stop filming, that he would walk out. So that the rhetoric of George Floyd, when you hear him speak about George Floyd, that's in the first 5 to 8 minutes of the actual interview. I actually check him and I say, you shouldn't say that. I actually check him about the Jewish community. I actually check them about the Black community, but you don't see that till 2 hours in the interview. So what you're seeing right now, what we're getting backlash for, is for the first 5 minutes of the interview. The people are saying that was irresponsible of N.O.R.E. You know what? I'm gonna say yes. Y'all right. You know what I mean? I should have checked him right then and there. I'm here to say I apologize to anybody who felt like I let them down, because I did feel like I did let them down.
N.O.R.E. made it abundantly clear that he does not support or agree with Kanye's claim about the Jews, the White Lives Matter shirt, George Floyd, and he regrets the interview. I think within the first 5 minutes of the conversation, he says that George Floyd died of fentanyl overdose and not from the officer putting his foot on his neck. And N.O.R.E. doesn't push back on that claim. None of them actually in the room pushed back on that claim. He says that Kanye initially told the producers that if he did not get his way during the interview, that he was simply going to walk out. He did not want Kanye to walk out of the interview and miss the opportunity to hear what Kanye has to say. It wasn't until hours, maybe I want to say 2.5, 3 hours into the interview, N.O.R.E. is a little drunk. They've been drinking for hours, that he got the liquid courage to kind of stand up against Kanye and says, hey, listen, a couple hours ago when you were talking about George Floyd, I wasn't really feeling that, and that's when he starts pushing back. It's a long interview. If you watch the entire interview, you will see that he does push back on the claim. And I think people missed that part. I think people stopped watching after a while, so they didn't really get to see him push back. During the episode, people were tweeting, social media was going crazy, saying, what is going on, N.O.R.E.? What are you letting this guy, how dare you let this guy say these things? And N.O.R.E.'s like, listen, I'm not trying to be part of any of this. I apologize for what happened. I'm not apologizing for Kanye. I am apologizing for giving him the platform to speak. Is it too late though? Does his apology comes too late? According to N.O.R.E., he was having a mental breakdown. Yet you continued on with the conversation for 3.5 hours long. If he believes that Kanye was having a mental breakdown, if that's what he believes, that's what he says, and Kanye is not a free thinker, why give him not only drinks and the drinks are flowing and he's drinking, why give him the platform if you knew that he was having a mental breakdown? Listen, I watched the entire thing. For the exception of him talking about ranting on Jews and the White Lives Matter shirt and George Floyd, the interview was actually it was not a bad interview. It was quite informative. He aired out a lot of his grievances. He was very passionate about his work, about his religion, about his children, about the fact that he lost his entire family. So you get to see that side of Kanye. Do we eliminate the entire interview, or do we edit out the parts that could be potentially harmful? At the end of the day, N.O.R.E. chose to post the interview. He chose to post the unedited, uncut, raw interview. And even after the interview, he boasted about the ratings. The interview got 1.6 million views in less than 24 hours. So he knew his ratings would be through the roof. He knew it. He knew that was coming. He knew people would come and watch to see what Kanye has to say. Even the people who didn't want to hear Kanye Kanye, they watched it anyways, all right? Just to kind of solidify the fact that Kanye is having a mental breakdown pretty much. My biggest issues with the interview was that he didn't challenge Kanye enough. He didn't push back on a lot of the things that Kanye was saying. He just kind of like agreed with him, laughed at it, and it wasn't until the drinks were flowing and everyone was, you know, drunk that he sort of pushed back on it. And by then it was too late. He missed the opportunity to push back on, hey, listen, whoa, before we continue, you can't generalize the whole Jewish community. Who specifically are you talking about? You know, and listen, George Floyd was killed. He was murdered. Let's stop right here. Let's not continue this conversation until we get that part right, until we get the facts correct. I think if he pushed back on that interview, there would have been no backlash. There would have been no backlash. People would have been like, you know what, good for you, N.O.R.E. Good for you pushing back and standing your ground. But he didn't do that. He didn't do that in the beginning of the interview. That is the problem that N.O.R.E. had. It takes a big man to admit your failures. He's taken full responsibility for his actions. Do I believe we should cancel him? Absolutely not. I don't believe in a cancel culture. I think that he's seeing that there's a potential lawsuit and maybe that's his reasoning for apologize. Maybe he truly really believes that last night was a big mistake. Keep in mind, this is Kanye. And he did tell the producers if he did not like the way the interview was going, he was going to simply walk out. And so N.O.R.E. just kind of let him speak. Just let him talk. Give him a platform and just say whatever he wanted to say. Listen, N.O.R.E. is no journalist, all right? He is a conversationalist. He talks. They talk. They laugh. He's not a journalist. And so we can't really hold him accountable for what Kanye said. What we can hold him accountable for is airing the episode. I don't know, N.O.R.E. That part should have never came out. Never, ever came out. What did you think of the interview? Did we even watch the 3-hour interview with Kanye? If you did, what did you think? I want to know your comments about his comments on George Floyd. Like this video, subscribe to my channel, and don't forget to hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on any pop culture news.